In Prince Edward Island, at the heart of Canada's potato country, there is a growing sense of unease. An industry that was once a source of local pride and national export success is now confronting an abrupt and painful downswing. As factories scale back operations and hundreds of millions of dollars in sales disappear overnight, communities deeply entwined with the potato sector are grappling with layoffs, shuttered facilities, and a dimming economic outlook. Cavendish, a name synonymous with quality and innovation in the world of frozen foods, is experiencing firsthand the repercussions of this trade dispute. Their state-of-the-art facility in Prince Edward Island, where rows upon rows of gleaming stainless steel equipment churned out more than 150 million pounds of processed potatoes annually for the U.S. market, is now largely silent. More than 600 employees who once took pride in their work and contributed to the local economy have been abruptly sent home. If there had been a storm, it would have been clear that it was coming. But this feels like a bolt from the blue. One minute, things seemed fine, and the next minute, everything changed. At the same time, a parallel crisis is unfolding at McCain Foods, another titan in the frozen potato industry. The company's vast complex in Florenceville, New Brunswick, a cornerstone of the regional economy for generations, is also scaling back. Once responsible for producing 22 million pounds of frozen fries every week for the U.S. market, this facility is now operating at just 40% of its capacity. Approximately 300 workers have been let go, with many more positions expected to follow suit in the coming weeks and months. The financial stakes are high. Just last year, McCain reported generating $2 billion in revenue from its North American operations, underscoring the sheer scale of the economic hit. These stories are not isolated incidents. They are part of a larger trend. Official figures tell a stark tale. Between January and March 2025, Canada's potato exports to the U.S. plummeted by 39.6%, totaling 141,000 fewer metric tons compared to the previous year. Even more alarming is the projected outlook for the full year. Estimates suggest that by December 2025, the shortfall could reach 280,000 metric tons. That would be the lowest level in over a decade. The economic impact is staggering, with losses anticipated to exceed $500 million, a stark contrast to the $1.6 billion earned in 2022 and 2023. While the situation is most dire for exporters, no one in the potato supply chain is emerging unscathed. In Idaho, for instance, farmers are bracing for a surplus of 50 million pounds of potatoes. The state's largest potato processing plant has been forced to slash its purchase projections by 25%. All this is contributing to a larger economic reckoning. Since January, the Canadian dollar has fallen nearly 8% against its American counterpart, hovering around its lowest value in 15 years. According to the federal government, the trade war with the U.S. alone has cost Canada 10,000 jobs and billions of dollars in lost exports. There is a real risk that without swift and decisive action, our economy could slide into recession by the end of the year. Officials here are scrambling to find solutions. However, the path forward is fraught with challenges. The potato industry is intricate, with multiple players involved in planting, harvesting, processing, and shipping. Finding a quick fix that satisfies everyone is a daunting task. Moreover, the broader economic implications of the potato crisis add another layer of complexity. A downturn in the agricultural sector can have ripple effects across a country. Lost jobs in rural areas, declining tax revenues, and reduced consumer spending can exacerbate existing regional disparities and strain social safety nets. The situation is serious and calls for urgent attention, but it's essential to approach it strategically and collaboratively. Knee-jerk reactions or unilateral actions are unlikely to yield lasting results. Instead, we need comprehensive, well-coordinated measures that address the root causes of the crisis while also providing relief to those most affected. The road ahead is undoubtedly tough, but Canadians have faced adversity before, and we have emerged stronger on the other side. The potato crisis serves as a stark reminder of our interconnectedness in an increasingly globalized world. A problem that started in America's boardrooms and courthouses is now casting a long shadow on our shores. The lessons we learn today will not only shape our agricultural sector, but also our broader economic strategy, reminding us all of the fragility of our prosperity and the importance of resilience in the face of adversity. While the U.S. and Canada sort out their differences, we take a closer look at what's happening in the world of potatoes. Their plants are still running. Cold storage remains full, but export contracts are shrinking by the day. If this trend continues, Canada's potato industry will be forced to look for alternatives, perhaps toward Asia or through new trade arrangements with Europe. Still, losing a market as close and integrated as the U.S. is no small matter, and the fallout will be significant and unpredictable. In response to the new U.S. tariffs, many large Canadian food processors have had little choice but to scale back operations. Their approach has been to reduce purchases of raw potatoes from domestic farmers, a move that has hit key growing regions like Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, and Alberta directly. Dozens of farmers have been forced to cut back on planted acreage for the 2025 season, not due to lack of land, labor, or pest issues, but simply because market demand is no longer assured. According to industry sources, yields at mid-size farms could decline by 15 to 25%, entirely because of shrinking demand, not natural disasters or agricultural risks. Across the border, the situation is no better. Even though the United States has tried to boost domestic production to replace Canadian imports, saying it is one thing, making it happen is another. A restaurant owner in Minnesota explained that since April 2025, his longtime Canadian potato supplier has stopped deliveries because of the steep import tariffs. Left with no choice, he switched to U.S.-grown potatoes, 25% more expensive and of noticeably lower quality. The result? Fries that turned soggy, soaked up more oil, and lacked crispness, drawing complaints from customers and driving down his revenue significantly. It is not just small Eries that are struggling. Food distributors in states long dependent on Canadian potatoes, such as North Dakota and Wisconsin, are also scrambling. Many are trying to renegotiate contracts with U.S. farms, but face hurdles with pricing and quality. Some distributors have even stopped handling potatoes altogether, unable to maintain the standards they once did. Even industry giants like McDonald's and Wendy's are facing a tough challenge. Suppliers are squeezed by rising input costs, while consumers are increasingly frustrated at seeing the price of a portion of fries climb higher. Once a simple, affordable staple, fries are now turning into a symbol of strain across the supply chain. From the processing plants to the dinner table, everyone is feeling the pressure. In the U.S., major potato-growing regions like Idaho, Washington, and Oregon may enjoy some short-term gains as competition from Canada eases. Farmgate prices there have risen slightly from about $0.065 per pound to $0.282. That has given some farmers temporary relief. But net profits have barely improved. The reason is clear. Nearly every input from fertilizer and pesticides to fuel has surged in cost because of Canada's retaliatory tariffs. For instance, a gallon of diesel for tractors and farm equipment jumped from 4.80 cents to over $6 in just a few weeks. Overall, production costs in the U.S. climbed by 15 to 18% in the second quarter of 2025 alone. This means that even when selling at higher prices, many American farmers are not seeing meaningful profits. In some cases, they are barely breaking even or posting slight losses. On top of that, 20% of U.S. potato production is usually earmarked for export, mainly to Canada and Mexico. Now that share faces new trade barriers triggered by retaliatory measures between countries. This raises concerns of a domestic glut, with the risk that prices could collapse if alternative markets are not found quickly. Meanwhile, in Canada, the sharp drop in potato imports from the U.S. is not merely a step back. It could mark a pivot point. This disruption may offer Canada the chance to restructure its supply chains, expand its domestic market, and strengthen exports to regions less exposed to Washington's tariff politics. On Prince Edward Island, where people have long depended on potatoes, and more than 65% of production once went to the United States. A clear shift is now underway. With export markets no longer certain, many farmers are proactively pivoting, moving away from large-scale exports and turning instead to domestic markets. Smaller regional players are benefiting from this change. For example, Cavendish Farms is gaining traction with its French fries sold under the Walmart brand, capturing 10% of the Canadian market share. Similarly, J.D. Irving Limited's iconic blonde roast potato chips are finding favor with consumers seeking locally made alternatives. The company has increased its output by 25% in response to shifting demand. As Canada navigates this evolving landscape, striking a balance between safeguarding domestic interests and maintaining strong trade ties with key partners remains an ongoing challenge. While the immediate impact of the trade dispute with the U.S. is prompting adjustments in the Canadian potato industry, the long-term effects are still unfolding. Finding new markets, diversifying export destinations, and bolstering domestic demand are crucial steps in this journey. Only time will tell how this saga ends. But for now, the Great White North is certainly feeling the heat. Thanks for watching.